Happy Sunday, everybody. I am glad you could be here. We are going to have some fun today as soon as I get rid of any noise. There we go. Okay. If you were with me on Friday, then you saw that I made some dairy-free ice cream, and it is absolutely delicious. It only took about 25 minutes in the ice cream maker, and it was just wonderful vanilla ice cream. So, what do you do with that vanilla ice cream? Well, we're going to make some ice cream sandwiches. I am absolutely determined, even though it's the 18th of September, that we are going to have some good weather still. So, good weather calls for keto ice cream sandwiches. Now, the sandwiches are not dairy-free. They have butter in them. Other than that, they are dairy-free. So if you want to substitute the butter for coconut oil, then absolutely you can do that. There isn't a reason in the world that you can't. But for today, we're going to use butter, and it is going to be absolutely delicious. Now, if you are vegan or vegetarian, this may not be the recipe for you, but as many of you know, I have been really trying to stick to a carnivore way of eating, and I have been enjoying it very much. Just got another great big package of bacon at the farmer's market that I was at yesterday. So if you're not attending your farmer's market, please do. Grass-fed, grass-finished beef and all kinds of fun stuff there. So good morning, Mom. But today we are doing cookies, and they are absolutely delicious, and they're going to make wonderful ice cream sandwiches. So let's get busy. Okay, you want to see what I'm doing here? There we go. Now, we are going to use ground pork rinds, which I'm not going to grind while we're hanging out here today because I know how noisy that is. I thought I'd be nice to you today. Now, there are a couple of things on the horizon for TSL Organics that you want to watch out for, and one of them, since we're getting closer and closer to, the holiday season that is a lot colder, is my gingerbread spice. And so that's going to be available soon at market, so watch for that. And that's what we're going to be using as a seasoning in this cookie today. It's going to go beautifully with the vanilla ice cream. But since it isn't out yet, you can use cinnamon. So you have options. Okay, now what I am adding to the bowl first is 70 grams of ground pork rinds. So if you have a small food processor or a blender, just blend these up. You want them ground really fine. You don't want chunks of pork rinds in your cookie. That wouldn't have a great mouthfeel. And after you get them ground really fine, we're just going to scrape them into the bowl. Okay, so 70 grams of pork rinds, and just ground very fine. And you can see that those are fine ground. And it only took a few seconds in the food processor, so it doesn't take long. Now, if you have a larger food processor or a smaller one, and you bring pork rinds home and you don't want to be tempted to just sit down and munch on them, grind them all up, put them in a jar. You can put them in the fridge, the freezer, or pork rinds are shelf stable, so you can even leave them in your pantry. Anyway, that is the pork rinds. And to that, we are going to add 40 grams of butter. Butter makes everything better. So 40 grams of butter. Now this is melted, and that's important. Don't make it really hot, but you do want it melted so that it mixes in really well with the pork rinds. And I do not have an assistant today, so this is all me. Now we are going to set this aside for just a minute. Now, another thing, now we haven't used this before, but we're going to today. This is collagen powder. Now, if you have trouble with your knees or your elbows or your hips or whatever joint, if you get a little bit achy, and collagen powder, there are conflicting scientific reports, but here's what I will tell you that I know for sure. When I take collagen powder, my knees don't bother me. When Dell takes collagen powder, his knees don't bother him. If we don't take it, his knees, my hips, yeah. So for us, it works. For you, well, if you start taking collagen powder, let me know how it works for you. Now, this is 21 grams of collagen powder. And so collagen powder, collagen is the gristle in meat. It's that sticky, gooey wonderfulness that's in meat. And this is, I'm going to show you. Now, this is another product. I have ordered it online, but I got this at Costco. Grass-fed, grass-finished beef collagen. You want to be watching for that. You don't want plant collagen. Not that there's anything in plant collagen that is going to hurt you, but, okay, I am just looking for, I found it before. Yeah, well, that is beef collagen. Now, this ginormous 1 kilogram container at Costco is about $50 Canadian, and it lasts for a long time. So it seems like a lot of money to put out for a container that size, but when you look at how much you're going to use, now you can add this to coffee, tea, you can add it to all kinds of things. Let me dig the scoop out here. Now, 1 scoop is a serving, so that is how much you would put in a cup of tea. When you compare that to the size of the jar, that is not very much at all. And does it say 100-day supply? So 1 scoop a day, this is going to last you 3 months. That's a pretty economical way to have collagen for 3 months. Now, we're going to use a little more than 1 day's worth in this recipe, but we're also not going to eat it all at once. So 21 grams of collagen, and to that we are going to add 40 grams of granular erythritol. If all you have is powdered erythritol, add that. That's fine. The reason I'm using granular is because it is less expensive to buy. And so if you can do something in a way that's going to save you a few pennies, then we do that. Now, to that we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of TSL Organics gingerbread spice, or cinnamon, or pumpkin pie spice, or apple pie spice. You decide. Once you've got this recipe written down and you have things in your kitchen and you're doing it, your rules apply. Now, I'm mixing this together right now because I don't want any clumps of gingerbread spice, especially. A clump of spice in something is never a good thing. If you mix all the dry ingredients together first, not including the pork rinds, because that can definitely hold on to a little bit of a lump. I don't know if you saw that, but there was just a little lump break up and we had a beautiful brown gingerbread streak in there, but that is not what we want in our cookies. Okay, so that is all mixed up. And we are just going to add all of this to our bowl. And then only one more ingredient. We're going to add 1 egg. And then we're going to beat it up until everything is beautifully incorporated. And preheat your oven. 350 degrees is where you want that oven sitting. Grab a piece of parchment paper, or if you have a silicone mat that you can line your cookie sheet with, do that. Oh, and I did not tell you, gingerbread spice in my coffee this morning, and I even have a little bit of cream in my coffee this morning. Now, I am going to grab something out of the oven. Yes, I cheated. I'll admit it, I cheated. Okay, I will show you what I grabbed out of the oven in a moment, but for right now, you can see that we have our cookie dough all mixed up. approximately 45 grams. If you're using this to make ice cream sandwiches, you don't want great big thick cookies, and maybe you want little bitty ones. You can make them as big as you want. I did mine in a whoopie pie pan because I could, but you don't have to. So you can just, if you're making smaller ones, you don't want to give the kids great big ice cream sandwiches. This is not quite carnivore because it does have a little bit of gingerbread and some granular erythritol, but other than that, this is a carnivore cookie. So ketovore, we'll go with that. Okay, so this is perfect if you're doing the carnivore diet. It is perfect if you're doing the keto diet, and you can make these cookies as big or as small as you like. So weigh them, make sure that they're all the same size, because when they come out of the oven, you want them all cooked evenly. And because you're working with meat products, hi Del, because you're working with animal products, so the egg and the pork rinds and the butter, you want to make sure, and the collagen, you want to make sure that everything is the same size and it's going to cook evenly. Now, once you get those cookies into your 350 degree oven, you want them in there for about 10 minutes, maybe 11. And when they come out, they are going to be these beautiful cookies that, I told you, I'm going to show you this pan. Okay. If I can do it without burning myself, because these just come out. Now, when they come out of the oven, they're going to be soft and floppy. Now, I'm going to show you. This one is still in the pan, and you can see. Whoops. You want to see? I guess I need to put it on camera if you want to see. It's soft and floppy, but as they cool, they firm up. So these ones are much firmer. Okay, so those ones are cooling. Now we can just give this pan a wipe, and we can put some more cookies in here. Now I'm giving it a wipe because this does not need to be greased. So you don't want to grease your parchment paper. Do not grease your cookie pan. There is enough fat in here with the butter and the egg and all of the good stuff that we put in there. Now I want to show you the easiest way for you to measure your cookie dough. Put it on your scale and zero your scale. And once it is zeroed, you can take a spoonful out and it will tell you, so this is minus 32, so I need to add a little bit more. That is minus 41. And so you just keep going until you have minus 45 or minus 25 or whatever it is you're doing. And then in the cookie sheet, and you can do this with your hands. I just want these all uniform, so I'm using this pan, and it works perfectly. And using parchment paper on a cookie sheet or using a silicone mat on a cookie sheet is going to work beautifully as well. Now, do you guys want to see what the ice cream turned out like and what an ice cream sandwich is going to look like? Okay, let's look at this. Okay. I've got ice cream stuck to the lid. There are way worse things in life that can happen. Now remember, when we made this, we used nut milk and a fresh vanilla bean as well as some vanilla. And you don't have to use the fresh vanilla bean, but we did on Friday. Now, this is getting really firm. And you can make these, now you want to cool these off really well. So put them in the fridge, or you can put them in the freezer until they're frozen. And these ones are not, so this is not going to stay frozen for very long. So 1 scoop of ice cream, and I don't have my fancy dancy ice cream scoop out here, but 1 scoop of ice cream. Ketovore meets vegetarian. Okay. And then a second cookie. And you have an ice cream sandwich. Mm. Mm. You are not going to be sorry. Now, you can test your cookie dough before you put it in the oven and make sure that it's sweet enough. You can adjust that sweetness. This is so good and very melty, but there are way worse problems to have in life. There we go. So, that is my incredibly messy, because I didn't freeze it after I made it, ice cream sandwich. The others will be melted as well if I don't get this back in the freezer. So, there we go. Back in there. So this one is going to get all melty, but the other ones are not. And I will have ice cream sandwiches made and put in the freezer, and then stick them, once they're frozen, stick them in a Ziploc bag. Piece of parchment paper between them so they don't stick together. You can flash freeze them on a cookie sheet, and that way everything stays exactly uniform, and they're not going to turn out all melty on a plate like this one is, but it is going to be delicious nonetheless. So make some ice cream. Make some carnivore cookies. Enjoy eating. Doing keto, eating in a keto way, is not about giving up the things that you love. It is about finding a new healthy way to have them. So do that for yourself. Do that for your family. And in doing that, you're going to find that you feel better, you hurt less. Chronic conditions that you've been dealing with are going away, or are much better. The inflammation is much less than it was. There are some things that you just cannot fix. I am headed for some surgery on the 25th of October to fix a torn rotator cuff muscle. It doesn't matter how long I do keto, that muscle that's severed is severed. It needs to be repaired. Not everything can be fixed with keto, but I'll tell you what I do know. When I have that surgery, I'm going to recover more quickly because my inflammation will be much less, because I'm not a type 2 diabetic anymore, because I'm not 350 pounds anymore. So all of the things that you do to make your life better by doing keto are going to benefit you in all kinds of areas. And that's a promise. That's what it does. So you need to decide, are you worth it? And I hope the answer is yes. I want you all to do your very best to live your best version of this shining life. I am so grateful that you joined me today. And I want you to reach out to someone that you haven't talked to for a while. Everybody needs to know that they're loved and appreciated. So reach out and tell someone. They'll appreciate it, and it'll make you